And I'd like to introduce Sarah Davies from Nottingham Trent University, who's going to talk to you about researching D&T for textiles. Over to you, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping you can see my PowerPoint. And I've just realised I've got this message on it that says to me about the meeting's been recorded. If I click got it, that's okay. So welcome, everybody. I'm Sarah Davies, as Dawn's just introduced me, and I'm really excited to be talking to you this evening. I've got a slide that just says, who am I? I know that Dawn sort of said I work at Nottingham Trent University, and I'm mainly involved in initial teacher education, so the PGCE for secondary. And I also teach on the Masters in Education, so working with part-time and full-time students. My part-time students are teachers. A lot of my full-time students are international teachers who are taking time out to look at research to inform their practice. And I suppose I'm here because of a conversation I had with Dawn nearly kind of 8 or 9 months ago, I think, about so I suppose wanting to kind of support teachers with textiles because I'm passionate about textiles and fashion and its place within design and technology education. So I know some of you here today are also involved in teaching textiles in art and design. Hopefully, I'm hoping that I've done stuff that is going to appeal to both, but I suppose just to kind of let you know, my kind of main area is working with design and technology teachers and schools in general, I guess. So I wanted to find out, I suppose, a bit about you. So the title of this is Tea and Chat, isn't it? So I thought, tell me what you're having for your tea, because I'm having omelettes. Apparently, that's my supper that's being cooked for me once I've finished here this evening. But also, what you might want to get out of this evening, so I can kind of double check that what I've planned for you is going to meet your desires. So you can either give me just a bit of fun, what you're eating, and then also something about what you might want to get out of this evening. And if you do that, I'm hoping that I can start to see the chat. So do you want to type it into the chat box? I guess I should have said that first. Uncle Joe's mint ball. Custard creams, though, one of my top biscuit choices. Got several roast dinners. Is that a sign of the weather? Because it's so miserable at the moment, isn't it? So looking at the difference between D&T and art and design. So can I just ask Dawn, whilst I'm doing this, if I'm sharing my screen, does everyone get to see the chat? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, everybody should be able to see the chat if they look in the chat.
Developing textiles yet within D&T, a little bit about research techniques. One a bit about design fixation. Right, okay. Okay, so I've realised I'm just like reading those and probably becoming a bit of a bore because I'm not talking to you, but hopefully you're writing away. So I think you've got quite a mixture of things there, but if I kind of talk about how that might then fit in with what I've got planned for you. So the sort of the three kind of things I was hoping to look at with you this evening was sort of, first of all, kind of contextualizing why research matters. So why we might be interested in research because we're D&T practitioners, why it needs to affect us. And then this website that has been created in response to some teachers' needs, which is going to kind of form sort of the main part of, I think, what I'm going to be sharing with you. And then also how you might use research to reflect on your own practice, which I'm hoping that might address some of those questions there about innovation and supporting curriculum within your subject area. So I'm hoping that sort of sounds okay. And if I look at the first one of just kind of unpicking, first of all, why research informed teaching, this fancy title, matters. I mean, it matters to me because I guess I work within the world of research, but for teachers, the Department for Education has this kind of expectation for early career teachers and also trainee teachers around a number of things, because they've designed a core curriculum that informs the work on teacher education courses, but also in the early career years for teachers in schools. And part of, or one of the things that is part of that curriculum is that teachers need to know that reflective practice supported by learning from educational research is likely to support improvement. And by improvement, they kind of mainly mean teachers' improvement as teachers, so their pedagogy, the way they teach and the things that they teach. But also, if we have good teachers, the theory tells us that that then rubs off and is good for our learners, our students. And so I'm kind of going to go back to you and ask you how you access research currently. And it might be that you're going to say to me, I don't access it, I've got no idea. Or it might be that there's something that you do, ways that you might do it. I just want you to tell me, really. I mean, it might be that research gets introduced through your school. So it might be through your department or whole school, or it might be websites that you're accessing at the moment. And again, if I open up the chat, yeah. Data and impact, yeah. Okay. And Facebooks, I know that Dawn's got a Facebook page, and there's several kind of Facebook pages out there to support D&T teachers, and one specific to textiles. And also, yeah, the National Curriculum website, I think that's around. Yeah. So some of these things, yeah, you're already familiar with. Yeah, the NSE EAD also have a website. I'm not going to look at that today, but that's another good resource for finding art and design specific research. Okay, lovely. Right. I mean, as those come to you, please keep writing on there, because I'm hoping I'll be able to look at this after we've finished today as well. So part of the reason, I guess, that you might have started to look at EEF and had conversations about research is because there is a sort of trend out there at the moment around research informed education, sort of coming from various places. One of the places that I thought you might have talked about, somebody mentioned the impact journal, and that comes from the Chartered College of Teaching. So this is the professional organisation that started about 4 or 5 years ago, which, if you're not a member of, it's worth joining. They have an annual fee, which I think is around £25. To be a member of the Chartered College, which is designed for teachers. So I've just copied the blurb off the website there from Alison Peacock, who is the chief exec for the Chartered College of Teaching. And this was kind of set up really to sort of raise your role as teachers, to sort of establish that idea that teaching is a profession. And as a consequence of that, the sort of Chartered College I just mentioned has this impact journal, which comes out termly, half termly. And if you pay the annual fee, you do get hard copies, but also you can access the impact journal online for free. So if you're not a member, you can access this. I think it has a restriction that you can only look at about 2 articles a week. But if you want to look at more than 2 articles or revisit an article in the same week, then you need to become a member. But it does mean that it's worth kind of seeing how much you can push it and how much you can get from just the sort of free, not subscription, but by just going on for free and having a look at the articles first of all. But that's been kind of set up because I said this idea of sort of getting teachers to be professionals, and part of this kind of trend for evidence-informed teaching has then fed into the Department for Education, and something that people have mentioned, and this is where I was going to kind of swap to the internet, because I have linked us to that's in fact the link I didn't show you, to the Charter College of Teaching, and from there you can link to their publications. And the one I was just mentioning, I showed you the hard copy, but that's the Impact Journal. But I mean, if you research that, and if you search that with the term textiles, you won't find anything there specifically for us. I mean, part of the conversation I was having with Dawn earlier today is that it's all well and good that we are talking about this idea of research-informed teaching, but it's also helping us find research that might be relevant to our practice. But obviously, as teachers, we want to look at research that might be generic to help us with various pedagogical issues, as well as things that are specific within our field of textiles. But to support teachers in that and getting more specific, Ofsted have come up with, or I'd mentioned sort of the Department for Education, because they kind of demanded, if you like, or set out tenders for Ofsted to write research reviews for the subjects. And the one for art and design has been published. The one for design and technology has not been published yet. And the art and design one came out in February 2023, but I'm sure the maths and the science one came out definitely before lockdown. So they came out in sort of, early 2020, or before 2020. So we're always kind of bottom of the list, but it does mean it's starting to happen. And these are really good starting points, if you like, for engaging with research in your subject. And for art and design, it means that these have been commissioned by Ofsted to look at the most relevant research and up-to-date research to inform teachers about what's good from the research to support curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment. So what we teach, how we teach it, and how we mark it. So that's a really good sort of resource to go and have a look at. The design and technology one has been written, but it hasn't been published yet by Ofsted. And at the moment, they haven't announced a date of when that is going to become live. Okay, so part of what I'm talking to you about today is some other ways that you might access research before that happens. So if I just nip back to my PowerPoint. The other one that is useful for general research is the Education Endowment Foundation, and a couple of you mentioned EEF, because it's likely that this might get mentioned in your schools. So again, I've popped the taglines on here from the website, that it's about supporting schools to improve teaching and learning through better use of evidence. And the Education Endowment Foundation is, I would say, is more kind of scientific, because I guess I come from a kind of more touchy-feely qualitative side of research, in that I'm interested in the words that teachers talk about rather than numbers. So I'm more kind of interested in interviewing teachers and finding out about their experience, rather than potentially the statistics of sort of what's going on and what's happening and what's not happening. And the EEF kind of, they tend to be more scientific, which is favoured by the government, and that's why this is a sort of government-sponsored research repository. But what they do, which is really useful, and is that they rate the research. So something I've got a little screenshot here, but I'll show you the real one as well in a minute, because once you go onto the EEF website, again, where they have some sections on subjects, and a lot is about science and maths. There's very little for design, technology, and art and design. However, there is some evidence around arts participation. So the use of arts to support learning in schools and to support particularly disadvantaged students, because I should have kind of given you that little caveat, is that the EEF are kind of really interested in pupil premium and how we can support more disadvantaged students in school. And so what they have done is they've done major trawls of the research that is available, and then they rate it. So they give you a kind of synopsis of the research and what you can do to use that research in your practice, but also they tell you how much it costs and whether the evidence is strong, medium or low. And so for the arts participation one, the implementation costs are low. However, the evidence strength is what they call moderate. So it's not a 5 rating, it's a 3 rating. So if a head teacher is thinking about investing and getting teachers in school on board with this type of activity, they're going to be weighing up the pros and cons of how much it costs and what kind of impact it's going to have. So what's good about this is it's low cost, but it might not get chosen because it has as a medium, but that's I think that's still pretty good. And the impact is over kind of 3 months, so it's likely that schools can't measure the impact until it's been in place for 3 months. So again, if I just nip to my research page, this shows you the link. So just kind of, because I'm in it live, I can show you the kind of way that the pages are set up. They talk about what arts participation, how they define arts participation. But it means that they summarize all the research out there. So it's a quick read for busy teachers. That's what's really good about the EEF website. It then kind of rates how effective the approach might be and how it affects that closing the gap. But also the bit that I find is quite useful for us as teachers is how it might be, how you can use it in your setting. And I think the caveat here as well is that when you're thinking about accessing research, is always think about your context, your setting, because in education, a bit like I kind of said, I'm sort of interested in the people, the kind of the complexity of the teaching situation, is that often what's worked in one school might not work in another school. So there's not a kind of silver bullet that everything will work for everybody. However, if we try it out, have a go at some of the things that are being reported on in our classrooms and then reflect upon it, we can see which considerations we need to take into consideration in our setting and what that and how that might help students within our particular setting. Okay, so it's kind of a way to sort of get you started. Right, now I'm going to go back again to my PowerPoint. Can I just check in that I'm not making anyone seasick? I've not used a Prezi, but I'm conscious that I'm flicking about between screens, so hopefully I'm doing that at the right time with the right timings. But if not, send me. Now, can you do kind of like thumbs up and things like that through this? That's a good question. Are you able to give me a thumbs up to tell me if it's going okay? Or someone's given me a kind of visual thumbs up, I think there. Oh yeah, okay. So there's not little emojis, but that's all right. So I've got this question, how does it help me? I guess because I'm thinking textiles, design and technology. Sarah's barely mentioned any of those yet, because the stuff that's out there on a kind of general teacher basis and the things that the government are putting money into, yes, we're getting some support with art and design through the literature reviews that the Ofsted are publishing, but we're not getting that for design and technology yet. And we're not getting anything through EEF or the Chartered College Impact Journal that is very kind of subject specific. Now, some people have mentioned Design and Technology Association, who, yes, do report on things that are going on in practice in the classroom. But I'm going to show you this Researching D&T website. I've got a little screenshot of it here. But if I just kind of give you the big picture first of all, this was a website that was created for D&T teachers through an event that happened just over a year ago, actually. Some teachers came together for a conference called PAT 39. And I've just said to Dawn, I need to remind you that PAT 40 is happening over half term. So I'll remind you about that, or tell you about that at the end of the session. But PAT 39 is the International Conference for Design and Technology. It's called Pupils' Attitudes to Technology. And it happens at a different place in the world on a sort of 18-month basis. And the last one was in New Zealand, in a place called Labrador, which I think is a fantastic name. Not New Zealand, I've just lied. It was in Canada, in a place called Labrador. And the conference, I didn't go to it, or any of the teachers that I'm talking about here, but we managed to set up a kind of mini conference in Nottingham where we joined the conference online. And the teachers came together with some academics at Nottingham Trent University and some universities across the country to talk about research in design and technology. And what came out of that was teachers' sort of desire to access research to support their practice in the classroom, but also a kind of lack of, or not really knowing where to access research, because I kind of was one of the sort of leads in setting this up with a colleague, Alison Hardy at Nottingham Trent University, and we wanted to find out what research the teachers wanted to find out about. But it turned out at this conference that some of the academics from universities who've been working in design and technology for a very long time actually were pointing them all the papers that had the answers to their questions. So the teachers then really started to think about the fact that we needed somewhere where all of this information was easy for teachers to access. And so the site was set up, and it's curated by an editorial board that's made up of teachers as well as academics and researchers. And it has links to journals, podcasts, and books, which is what I was going to kind of show you first. So if I go back onto my website and take you to the Researching D&T website, and so this kind of gives you a little bit of blurb about the website, but also talks to you about the fact that it's made up, it's kind of like a repository for all the things that teachers might want to access to do with design and technology, because research in design and technology is quite a small field. As you're going to find out, the research within that field about textiles is then even smaller. But just kind of getting together all the research about D&T is quite a kind of mammoth task, because it's small. It's kind of also all around the place, because it's often not the area that's invested in. So we've gone about sort of trying to put all these things together. And so if I click on, I was going to kind of first start off with books, because what you'll see on this website is across the top, there's some landing pages. So the homepage, which we're just on then, but also there's a drop-down resource button that takes you to journals, links to podcasts, links to databases, which I'm not going to talk about in this session today, or communities, but I thought I'd kind of give us a little bit of a whistle-stop tour, if you like, through books, journals, and podcasts. There's also a blog site, which is very new, and we're starting to kind of put some blog posts on there, but we're trying to encourage teachers to share some of the work that they might be doing in school, and also if they access some of these resources, talk about how they may have used it in the classroom in order to build up a shared knowledge base of how we can use research in our classrooms, but also what we're doing in our classrooms and what works for us in our different settings. You can also find out about the editors, so the mixture of teachers and academics that are involved in this, and we're also asking for feedback. So if there's anything that you're thinking is missing, or there's something that you're not quite sure how to use, then please drop us a line via that contribute button to tell us how we can improve this. Because obviously things like this take time. We had some funding to do it as well. At the moment, we're doing it out of kind of free time and love. But hopefully if we can get some more funding, we might be able to add some more different content to it. But also if you start to contribute, we can add to it. Anyway, what I was going to show you first of all is this resource, which is a book that everyone can access, because I'm going to click on this, which links us to Hilda and Torben's D&T blog, which is designed for D&T teachers. But what they have managed to do is this book, which is called Design and Technology for the Next Generation. It came out now about kind of 15 years ago. In fact, it's 2007. But it's a really good book that puts together research of the time, which I believe is still relevant for D&T teachers today. And some of the books that are also on my link are quite expensive, and if you're not a student currently, you don't have access to a library, they're very expensive for individuals to buy. And so this has all been put onto Torben and Hilda Ruth's website, so you can access the different chapters from this book. And the one I thought that might be of interest to teachers today is this Gender and Pedagogy chapter, from Patricia Murphy, which is talking about those kind of gender splits within design and technology. And I think it's likely, I guess I'm making an assumption, so this might be another bit of chat, but I would think as a textiles teacher or somebody who specializes in textiles, definitely within design and technology. And then art and design, I guess that is a question for the art and design teachers. But is sort of gender still an issue within our subject area? You know, is that something that you might be interested in thinking about, how you can get more girls into design and technology or more boys into the textiles aspects of design and technology when you're teaching? So this is a really good article that you can access free on the curriculum, which starts to talk about some of the research and some of the ideas around supporting students within our subject, which can have, definitely in design and technology, this sort of gender bias. And I think, you know, I'm kind of going slightly off piece, that I've been talking to Dawn about ensuring that textiles is thought about in any kind of future curriculum developments in design and technology. And I think that's one of the big issues, that if we lose textiles, we definitely lose some of our students who want to explore and work within design and technology in a variety of material areas. So, Gon, are you happy to give me a bit of chat at this point so that we're getting people involved? Yes. So teachers are starting to ask about uptake of teachers in D&T. So are we still finding that our GCSE subjects, especially if we're kind of offering textile specific design and technology courses, is it still female dominated? So we're getting boys that are interested, but often in those sort of smaller numbers. So Mrs. Adams is at a girls' school, so that gives her all girls, I'm guessing. I have 3 in my year 10 class. So C Mills, how many is? Yeah. 3 out of 10, so you've got 10 in your class. So is there anybody who has a better balance? I suppose that's the next question. So Claire, are you happy to talk? I know Dawn's asked me to, or yeah, suggested I encourage people to chat if you're feeling like it. You've mentioned about sort of that worry about declining, that they're going to engineering and product design. Or through art and design, yeah.
If you can unmute yourself, if you want to talk. Anybody want to say
Yeah.
something? Come on, girls. As we're all girls tonight by the looks of it.
Have you checked then? I know we've got the
Yeah.
numbers. Parents not encouraging textiles. So is there anyone that, because like someone had said about product design, engineering potentially stealing some of our students, some of the arguments around the single GCSE for design and technology, which I don't think have been made explicit, but I think an implicit sort of argument, a kind of hidden argument, was that in some of the talk before the new curriculum came out, and I guess that might be, if I click off, just looking at, obviously this is from 2007, but you can see that textiles technology has 50.8 of students are doing textiles and technology, whereas in resistant materials, there's only 21.3. Now that's uptake, okay? So that's saying that textiles is more popular than resistant materials. Some of the data I haven't got in front of me here, but when we were when I was around, I wasn't involved in the new national curriculum, but I was involved in conversations before that happened, that textiles teachers got better results in their GCSEs than resistant materials teachers. Electronics teachers also got better results. Now, so I have a theory that potentially by bringing all of D&T together, one of the arguments might have been to try and get textiles teachers' expertise maybe to rub off on the resistant materials teachers. Now, this is just me, but I think there's an implicit thing there about ensuring that those classes are made up of that mixture of students, because you also might argue that because girls are better, you know, I'm not biased in any way, but yeah, girls are better. They like coursework. There is research around that students like coursework. So in the past, when we had the 60% weighting for coursework, 40% exam in design and technology, then you could argue that that's what might have been one of the factors as to why textiles got better results than resistant materials, because they mainly had females in their classes, and those students their preferred style tended to be around coursework. So now we've got this situation where everything's been merged together, but what's happened is almost we've created these little mini silos where we're still offering GCSE options that are textiles specific. I'm just putting out there, is there some research around gender and pedagogy about the fact that if you have a course that's called design and technology, but the students are able to choose between the different materials that they access, then might you get a better spread of females and males in that classroom? And might you also get females teaching it, because engineering and product design, I don't want to put words into anybody's mouth, but we might have said that as kind of like, we're definitely going to think it's a bit of a dirty word if we feel they're stealing our students. But the way I might look at engineering is I might look at textiles in architecture. So things like architecture, yeah, textiles in architecture, or also textiles within engineered medical applications. So there are knitted components. I'm sure I learnt this of Dawn many years ago. There are knitted components. They're often used in operations to bind limbs together. I'm very much simplifying it. But also engineering within textiles is a great area that isn't just about necessarily cars, or, you know, I kind of find that there's that sort of the way we might turn off students as if we're looking at kind of hard engineering rather than soft engineering. So I have got Claire talking about, we now call D&T Textiles Fashion Design to engage more students. So is that working? Is it working for your female students, or is it working for students in general? Because that's a good idea. Okay.
Julie has a good comment about what they are,
Yeah.
how they're tackling the gender thing.
Is Julie happy to talk to us?
Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Hi, Haley.
Hi, yeah. So yeah, we at Key Stage 3 we actually call design technology engineering. So and then we offer all the disciplines. At GCSE, we just offer, well, we offer design technology and engineering, but the design technology is sold as design technology, not textiles, not graphics, not product design. And then when they come to do their NEA, they choose what discipline they want to do it in, or a mixture of disciplines,
Yeah.
which is very difficult to manage the class. However, I would say the stereotype gender isn't there very much at all. We had, I would say, about half the class last year do something textile related, whether it was furnishing, so they made a chair and then furnished it, or whether they made, a lot of the boys did hoodies. And within sort of that half the class, the 50% of the more boys that did the chose textiles, because we're really trying hard to not give it that stereotype right from the second they come in year 7. You know, we do bucket hats in textiles, we do the food-based cushions and things like that. So there's no sort of girly textiles projects, if that makes sense, to try and encourage them to get that stereotype totally away. And I don't think they do have a stereotype at the school about it. And we only have a small A-level uptake at the minute, but within that we've got four or five students doing A-level, and there's always been at least one boy in the last few years.
Yeah, and so building it up kind of slowly. And then
Yeah.
I can see from the chat, people, the kind of nervousness or the kind of worry is people feel scared that they might be out of their comfort zone when they offer the design and technology GCSE. So how did you cope with that, kind of having to then broaden and learn all the different kind of work with all the different material areas?
Yeah, it is really difficult. It is very hard work, and got a fantastic department, and we all support each other. So if we've got 2 or 3 classes, or 2 classes on together, we'll mix and match. You know, if within the same class someone is doing needs to be in the workshop, one teacher will go in the workshop and they'll take the students that need to be in the workshop. We've got an amazing technician who's willing to take a couple of students at a time as well. So yeah, it is difficult, but we use everybody within the department.
Yeah.
But it is difficult, and it is nerve-wracking, and I am textiles trained, and I do worry that the students might not be getting their best in the product design side. But like I say, our technician is amazing, and he's amazing in the hard material side. We've got lots of other staff who are, and everybody, because it's such a tight department, everybody helps everybody.
Yeah.
We've got 2 people with their hands up. We've got Mrs. Adams. Do you want to unmute
Hi,
yourself?
Mrs. Adams.
Sorry, yeah, I've got it set up for my students because this is the iPad I use at work. I'm Hannah. I just wanted to ask, because the school I'm at, we don't currently have teacher GCSE in DT. We're a very small department. There's just 2 of us. It's a small independent girls' school. I just wanted to ask, for those of you that are doing a GCSE, for their final assessed product that they make, do you find that they combine materials, so you can have, say, a resistant material product that then they will make soft furnishings to go with it, for example? I don't know if anyone can answer that for me.
If that's a question for me, yes, we have lots of students do that, and right through to A-level, as well.
Yeah. And do you split the group so they will visit you and then go and visit like another member of staff, or do you just keep the one group?
The first year we did that. We rotated in year 10, so we teach a unit of each discipline, and then and we had enough staff and timetable where we could do a rotation, as it were. But then timetables haven't allowed us to do that as much the last couple of years. So so I would teach graphics, product, textiles.
Okay, so it's all about timetabling, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is a big issue at my school. But okay, thank you for your answer anyway.
And
Claire, is it
C
Claire?
Mills?
Is it Claire Mills? Yeah, C Mills.
Claire's fine as well. Am I on?
Hi, Claire.
You are.
Oh, right. Hi. It's really interesting. I'm a head of art, and we did have a textiles specialist in D&T. Sorry, a fashion specialist in D&T, and then they've left to go to another school. So the option group that chose fashion came across to me, who was a textiles background, but through art. So quite a few of our students were good at doing the NEA, and then were struggling really in the exam portion of their project, because it was 50-50, if I think that's correct. Apologies if that's wrong.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
And however, what we've then realised is that we're also quite restricted in art and design, because they're only allowed to choose, the school only gets one of their grades. So for example, they can't choose two art subjects. They used to be able to, but now we can't.
Yeah.
So we've got more, we've got less students doing textiles this year, but that's because of, like, historically we haven't done it in Key Stage 3 for quite some time, because technology kept it. But because I'm now the only textiles teacher, I've sort of dragged it back over to art and design, and they seem to be responding really well. It was just the fact that they were far more interested in the soft side of technology, rather than I'm really sorry, I'm getting my words, apologies, I'm probably saying the wrong things, but the D&T side of technology, which was in a lot of the exam paper. It was only a part of the exam paper which was fashion based, and the students found that quite difficult to respond to, we felt. So art and design seemed to cover quite a few of the bases. I don't know if anyone else is an art and design teacher.
Anybody?
And yeah,
Flossie,
I mean,
Flossie, have you got anything to say? No.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh yes, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, hi. So exactly the same here. In terms of like the exam paper, I found that the girls didn't respond at all very well in their exam, because the questions didn't really apply to from a textiles point of view. Even like the language that was used in the exam paper, again, it just didn't really reflect what we've been teaching them in the classroom. So this year we've actually moved them across to GCSE art and design textiles, and it's really taken off. The girls have just responded to it so much better. So yeah, I think I've heard quite a few people that have done that.
and which exam board do you use then?
AQA. Oh, sorry, AQA for A-level textiles, but then EdXL for GCSE, the art and design.
And is that a school policy? Are you able to choose which exam board you use at a department level?
Yes, yeah, we are. So I researched quite a few, but felt that one was quite like that one. But in terms of like creativity and practical, it just worked really well for the girls at our school. And like I said, the GCSE paper was that they'd done previously from like a DT perspective. It was just not really textiles related at all.
I mean, I do work with OCR, and yeah, their aim. But I mean, I was just thinking I could take those questions back to them, because the aim is that is that the questions have to be able to be answered in any of the material areas that the students work within, because they obviously need to specialise, don't they, in one of the material areas.
Absolutely. I mean, there was only sort of a couple that did, but just across the years that I've been there, I just found some of the language that was used was language that we didn't use at all from a textiles point of view. Yeah.
Which is, well, I mean, that's kind of
that's a kind of question that needs to be put to the people. I mean, Sarah and I are working on in the background on other things, and it's that sort of information is invaluable to what we're doing and trying to understand why the current D&T GCSE is not really working for people doing textiles and other materials, actually. Yeah, so I think that's really important. Is there anybody else who wants to say anything?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how to do the hands up thing.
Yeah, you've got an echo, Claire.
I'm sorry, I'm in my kitchen. Is that gone? Is that better?
It's fine. If you, just carry on.
I taught AQA design technology and found very similar stories with the exam paper at the end. So the girls, predominantly females, would be doing the material area for their portfolio, and then we felt a little bit cheated at the exam paper. I've moved schools, and we're doing art and design spec for Educast, which I'm really enjoying teaching. And it takes that kind of conversation out of it with the learning the theory. Projects that we ran at my old school were very good, like the textiles class made oak picture frames. So we were putting that theory into practice as well. But that was because I'd had a little bit of a background with product design, but also the technician kind of led that as well. So I think it depends on the department that you work in. But I'm enjoying teaching the art and design, but I worry because it's predominantly been choose textiles and make a dress, and I really don't want it to be that. I really want it to be gender inclusive. So it's something that I have started to look into is the researching between like gender stereotyping with the courses. Sorry if you couldn't hear me.
Well, yeah, and I mean, hopefully, I definitely suggest that you read that Patricia Murphy article to get you started on thinking about how you might then be able to make arguments, I guess, and kind of think about how it's going, how the subject is going in your school. There was something that Emily's note kind of caught my attention, because you sort of talked about not being able to get a textiles job, because I think that design and technology, and I guess the art and design teacher will be able to tell me this, we're still sort of recruiting not as well as other subjects within schools. So it feels like the status for design and technology subjects, and I'm kind of guessing art and design, but I don't want to speak for the art and design teachers, is sort of seen as a lesser subject. You know, it's often kind of the one that's in the extra column for pupils to choose from. And as one teacher kind of talks about the fact that students can't do art and design and technology, which you can kind of, I'm sure that I did both when I was at school, because that was sort of the area that I was interested in. And so it might be that we have to kind of get back in by stealth, you know, which if we take on a sort of wider role as a D&T teacher or potentially an art and design teacher, we can then bring in projects and learning that favours textiles contexts, to use the sort of design and technology language, because then we might show students that more softer side of design and technology and get students involved in wanting to pursue it later on as the course, as they go into GCSE. And I'm thinking about Emily's comment. Does Emily want to talk, or I don't want to put on the spot? Because you said you're kind of working in sort of mainly woodwork. But I mean, from the research I did, what kind of I thought was fascinating was the other way around, is that a teacher or a head of department who had stopped including textiles context within the D&T Key Stage 3 curriculum, found at GCSE that the students were wanting to use textiles in their contextual challenge, in their 50% coursework element of the project. And he felt unconfident and worried about teaching it. However, he went off and kind of learnt and enlisted people to support him. The students were kind of demanding that they included textiles as part of their mixed materials answer to the contextual challenge. And that led him to then start introducing textiles lower down in the school. So I suppose that idea of by stealth is kind of getting ourselves within the departments in order to ensure that students are getting that balanced curriculum. But equally, a small department where you might be the only textiles teacher there is, I also think you can teach the whole of design and technology through textiles. You might then need that other bias to kind of think about how you're balancing the curriculum, but there are still different ways of doing it. And I suppose getting you back to perhaps drawing on some of the research to then help you justify your decisions with senior leadership in schools, and also maybe sharing some of the work that you're doing to help others, because I can see from the chat that you're really keen to see how others are doing things in school. And I think that's what research can be really useful in, reading about how others have tackled problems. Because I think one of the questions I've got for you was around some of the problems, which I think you're starting to kind of already hit upon this. But if I just bring up this slide, then is getting you to put in the chat for me now sort of what you think the practice problems are. So we've definitely still got this problem that boys aren't opting to do GCSE, D&T, that teachers are teaching art and design. Is that a problem or not? For some of you, it might not be, because that's your specialist area. Someone had got the problem, I guess, that they were needing to teach textiles because the D&T department weren't offering it within their art and design curriculum. For others, though, it might be a frustration, a problem that as a textiles, somebody with a design technology background, you're feeling that there isn't a space for you within your school and you need to work in the art and design, through the art and design sessions. But are the problems around, finding curriculum that's attractive to both genders, finding curriculum that helps you with developing this language or understanding this language? Is that something, that somebody raised the point about the language in the exam being not good? So as that I would see as a problem, that we don't understand that language, or we're not developing the skills in using that language lower down in the school, or we're not finding exam specifications that meet what's happening in our classrooms. So do you just want to type for me some of your questions? Because I think this might be helpful as well to the stuff that Dawn was sort of implying earlier, that we're working on some things behind the scenes around hoping to move forward and develop the current curriculum in design and technology.
Whilst you're writing bits and bobs in the chat, I just wanted to, you may have seen a post that I did earlier on Facebook, in the Facebook groups today, that we are doing some research. Textile Skills Centre is doing some research, which will hopefully be published in the new year, and that we are doing 2 surveys, and it would be fantastic if you guys could complete the surveys. I'm going to send an email out at the weekend, and also we'll do some more Facebook posts with the links to the survey, and it's all about how you're teaching, what you're teaching, what you think the future of textiles in education should look like. So it'd be really great if you could complete these surveys for us. You've been putting up some great stuff on this chat. all the different problems that you're having. So I'm absolutely thrilled that you've been doing this. We've got all the usual problems of yes, Kelly's just saying staff skills, funding for training. That's a big one, isn't it? We know that. Core knowledge and retaining the key knowledge. Yeah, curriculum not shared with parents. Yeah, we've got to get parents involved and in understanding what design and technology actually is and what textiles is. It's got I don't know, it's got the wrong sort of perception about it. They just think it's woodwork and needlework or something. I don't know. It's just, and it's not valued. It's not. And yet you look around every home and every car and every building, you've got textiles everywhere. What would we do without it? Creative learning. We need to be teaching in a creative way. Teach people to understand that failure is not bad. They can fail. And the way that we teach to just pass exams is maybe not the best route. But design and technology and art, the creative arts, is so important to our to developing young people's whole aspect about the whole life skills, even sewing. We've heard this week about how doctors, vets, surgeons want people who've done sewing. They want people with dexterity and their fingers, being able to do things with their fingers, product design, product making.
Got a call out for you though, Dawn, as well. I think how important you are.
Preaching to the converted.
And I think how important, yeah.
I know, and believe me, the more I sort of like say it out loud, the more I know that, because I'm not politically minded, I'm not politically inclined, but I'm finding myself in a position where I'm having to really shout out about textiles when I go to some of these meetings. And it's just putting the face and the voice of textiles to these meetings, but with the information that you're giving us, that is giving us the information we need to then put to these groups, that are forming, and these meetings that are happening that are going to affect whether or not textiles is even going to be in the curriculum. So
I am convinced it's not. Well, they can't take it away, but I think it is sort of a little bit of a worry. But I'm just thinking that just to kind of, I was just going to share back again my screen if that has worked. But just a couple of things to kind of point people at as things that are positive is that one of the podcasts that I point you towards on that Researching D&T website is Alison Hardy's Talking D&T podcast. And if you haven't kind of listened in on this yet, I advise you to do it. She's got absolutely loads of podcasts, but these are ones that have specifically been kind of pulled out because they're focusing on textiles. So Helen O'Sullivan is talking about sustainable textiles, and you'll also find me talking to her about teachers really and their challenges with the curriculum and that move to teachers teaching across all of those material areas. I also realised something that I just wanted to point you at as well, which earlier I showed you this Hilda and Torben's D&T website and the Next Generation book, but they have also put onto here some resources that were created quite a while ago by Nuffield, that some of the graphics in them is quite dated. But I know in a conversation I had recently with Dawn, we're on about kind of resources for teachers. I think there are some brilliant resources in here. There's a whole stream of resources, which is what I'm going to click on now, but there's obviously the material area, which if they're new to you, it might be worth accessing their resources. But there's a whole stream of resources here to support textiles teachers, which I do feel are kind of modern, although I'm saying the graphics are dated, so bear that in mind, but the projects that they're doing are relevant and modern for our students that we're working with today, and moving away from potentially cushions, you know, I have a bit of a bugbear with some of the work that goes on in textiles, which doesn't show the beauty of it. Because the reason I think textiles can't disappear is because it's the compliant, flexible material that allows you to shape it and form it and create, yes, garments, but it has this property which wood and metal and plastic don't have. And if we don't have textiles, that's going to kind of really stop our students appreciating and having that full access to making and designing objects, artifacts that can do a variety of different things. Okay, so I've suddenly said that very quickly, haven't I, thinking that we're running out of time. I saw Claire then, or somebody going off for a cup of tea. Has everybody left the room? Because I'm aware we've just passed 8 o'clock,
we have run out of time. We have run out of time, yeah.
So we've run out of time. But anyway, if anyone wants to tell me about any research that they've used, then please do get in touch via Dawn to continue this conversation. I guess that's it. So I will say bye-bye. I will stay on the line to talk to Dawn, but goodbye to people that are going.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah. This has been absolutely fascinating, and we don't usually run over, but this one actually, I think we need to. So somebody wants to say something?
I just wondered whether you could forward some of the links in an email to us, please.
Yes, we'll do a sheet. We'll do a sheet, and I'll add it to the follow-up email.
Thank you very much. Thank
you. Thank you, everybody.